The talk today is also a video. As you know, I'm back very recently from the annual Anton Fall Retreat at Unity Village, and it was wonderful. I had an opportunity to do a power talk one of the mornings there, and we'll have an opportunity to see what it was that I said.
Hey, hey. Let me tidy up the hakalah for a second here. Okay, there we go. Would you object to hearing an idea that would transform your life? Do you mind if I borrow your car? What those two questions have in common is that the answer that I was looking for was no. And that's not the way the universe works. It feels different. Can I borrow your car? Yeah. Or there might be a reason not to. Would you like to hear an idea that could transform your life? Yes. There's a little more enthusiasm there. And the fact of the matter is, the words that we use is important. Words is important. And there are details about exactly why words are important. It is my contention that the universe always says yes. The universe has one answer, and that answer is yes. So it is our business to align ourselves so that when we are asking for something, we're setting ourselves up for a yes. When Jerry Troyer took over as the president of the affiliated New Thought Network, one of his missions was to say what we mean and mean what we say. And the same thing applies when we're looking to get to a yes. Pithy quote, you can write this one down. Words are the rudder that steer our thoughts. It is possible to steer our thoughts without the rudder. It's not nearly as easy. The universe always says yes. So I've been doing this podcast for a while, and people have been telling me forever that I should do a podcast. And I spent 10 years in professional radio. And my big old attitude said, if somebody wants me to talk for half an hour, they're going to have to build a transmitter with a big tower and let me be the only one on it. So the attitude kept me away for a good long time. And then I started doing pilots of how would this work. And I got different people to co-host, because just me talking for half an hour bores me, and I can't imagine what it would do to other people. And I tried it with my daughter, and I tried it with a couple of other people, with having them be my counterpart and my foil. And I figured we couldn't do more than a dozen episodes. I'd run out of content. There's nothing else to say. And then I met Carol. And once ever, I posted a Facebook ad. And once ever, she responded to a Facebook ad, and that was how we met each other. She was interested in the practitioner class that I was offering on Zoom during the pandemic. And we had the initial conversation, and she pointed this out much, much later, that in that initial conversation, I said, well, the universe only has one answer. The universe always says yes. And Carol had spent 35 years as a Christian pastor in 3 different denominations. And I learned that although I know the answer is always yes, she and all of traditional religion think that the answer is yes or no or later. That starts in our prayer. That starts in principle. When we set an intention, when we get ourselves clear about what it is that we're desiring, the universe is saying yes. The only answer that we can ever get to our prayer, our conscious, intentional prayer, is yes. We've done 220 episodes now. And she keeps on asking questions that I thought we already covered, but apparently there's a lot of depth that goes in there. And mostly it's because of the resistance to the idea that the universe always says yes. So our job is to get to yes. What's it going to take to get to yes here? And oh, by the way, the word doesn't particularly matter. If I say yes to something that I don't believe, I'm not going to get what I said, I'm going to get what I believe. I do not have to read page 52 of the Science of Mind textbook to you because Elizabeth just read that to you. If you believe it's not going to work, then it looks like it doesn't work. If you get yourself clear about what it is that you believe, what you desire, what you deserve, the universe is going to say yes. It is as simple as that. How do you know what you believe? Well, there's good news. We have an indicator. There is, in fact, a life-size topographical map of your belief system, and it's called your experience of life. If you think you believe something and your life is showing up differently, that's not what you believe. You believe what you're experiencing, and that's not punishment. That's about how you're approaching and engaging and believing. This whole idea of getting to yes came up years ago. I was doing lap swimming at the YMCA. And when there are 4 people in 4 lanes, then everybody gets their own lane. It's real cush. And when somebody else shows up, then you need to share a lane. And I find myself being very polite, saying, do you mind if I share a lane? And I was looking for a no. And usually the people were pretty gracious, and they would say, come on in. But what I learned from that is that my attitude was, I need to ask their permission. I might not get a yes, so I have to couch it a little bit. So now I say, okay, if I share the lane? And then the answer that I get is yes. So if you find yourself asking a no question, or if you find yourself wanting something that you're not believing in, look at what you're asking for and examine what you might be believing. Because if we're focused over on this direction and we're not getting what it is that we want to be experiencing, maybe we have to turn around and look in this direction. If that's my no, my yes might be over here, and I might not have been looking at it before. The answer is always going to be yes. Am I an unhappy person? Or is it possible for me to be a happy person? Am I failing at this? What's it going to take to succeed at this? It seems really subtle, but it's really important. And especially because the way that we use our language is so automatic. The things that we just normally say all the time. While I was getting ready to come up here and do this talk, I was talking to one of my mentors who doesn't know it, Tiffany Milne. And she said, I'll give you the same advice I give everybody, don't F it up. And that is, on the one hand, very funny, because she's a pro. And she knows exactly how to make that funny. And it's also not what I was looking for. Because I know I'm not going to F it up. What am I going to do instead? If this is a complete success, what's it going to look like? So what I want to be able to do is focus on getting to yes. And as I was thinking about this talk, it occurred to me that one of the other people I know who is always focused on getting to yes, with the most cheerful and uplifting and enthusiastic manner, is Angelo Pizzella, founder of Emerson Institute. He is always looking for a way to get to yes. You come in with this mishmash of stuff that you've done and things that you want to have in your life, and instead of saying, this is just a mess, he say, well, okay, we're gonna have to look at this, and maybe this will work with that, maybe this will work with the other, and he'll put the pieces together and then say, and in order to get to where you want to be, you need to do this and this and this, and that's what it's going to take to get to yes. Very positive, very uplifting, very enthusiastic. Sherry McMurray is now participating in the same job of looking at the credentials and seeing what it's going to take to get to a yes. And that's what Emerson Institute is based on. And that's really exciting as far as I'm concerned. The universe always says yes. Yes is a very positive response. Does that mean we need to say yes to everything? How many people here have ever been in their past, sometime long ago, a people pleaser who always wants to say yes? Yeah, we got a whole room full of people pleasers. You can put your hands down. You don't have to say yes to everything. But instead of saying no, be clear, this is not my yes. The first song in the musical Hamilton is My Shot. I'm not giving away my shot. I'm not giving away my yes. In sales, they call it opportunity cost. If I buy this, I'll have it, but then whatever I use to buy this, I'm not going to be able to use to buy that. So instead of saying no to this, I might say, that's not my yes. We haven't gotten to my yes yet. And I'm going to keep an open mind, and I'm going to keep looking at it, and I'm going to keep considering. The universe always says yes. When we do what I call a practical prayer, some people call affirmative prayer, other people call spiritual mind treatment. There's all sorts of terminology for it. I like practical prayer because when you say, I'm going to do a practical prayer for a real result, people know what you're talking about. If you say, I'm going to do a spiritual mind treatment to manifest a demonstration, a third of the room knows what you're talking about. The rest of the New Thought world says, I think I know what that means. And the people who are on the street go, huh? And who's going to do this? A guy with a lab coat? We're looking for a yes. We're always looking to get a yes. And sometimes as we're doing a prayer, what happens is we get to the point where I realize I don't believe this. In which case, what's it going to take for me to change that belief that I don't deserve this, that I can't have this, that it's not mine, that it's out of reach, that it's out of range, to make that possible? Because the universe is just waiting to say yes. And if what I'm having is doubt, the universe says, yes, let's have some more doubt. And if I'm being delayed and I'm being frustrated, and that's what I'm focused on, the universe says, yes. And I get to be more frustrated. Students sometimes say, can I do the same prayer twice in a row? And there's two answers to that. One is no, and the other is yes. And the real answer is no. And the reason the answer is no, and I'm going to go not into quantum physics, I'm going to go into actual physics. The reason that you can't do the same prayer twice is if you say exactly the same words twice in a row, it's possible that your consciousness is different. It's hopeful that your belief system has changed a little bit, but here's the physics part. You think you're doing the same prayer. I'm sitting in the same place, doing the same prayer, the same way. Wrong. Where are you right now? I'm in the Groppert Center. Well, actually, right now, you're in Lee Summit, Missouri, on the surface of a sphere that's spinning around 24,000 miles in circumference, and it takes 24 hours to do that. So just ground speed, we're going 1,000 miles an hour. Oh, and by the way, the sphere is in orbit around the sun, takes 365 and a quarter days to do that, and the solar system is moving around the galaxy. The galaxy is moving through the universe, and I'm not sure you've heard this, the universe is expanding. So if you think you can do the same prayer twice while traveling at 67,000 miles an hour, have it that belief. I don't think that that's possible. I've been involved in a lot of organizations, and the board works by Robert's rules. And I will confirm what everybody has said, that the Anton organization, the Anton board, is one of the best boards I've ever been involved in. And before I joined Anton, when we formed New Thought Philadelphia, one of the things we did is we looked at Robert's rules. This was where somebody makes a motion, and then somebody seconds the motion. There's a bunch of discussion. You say, all in favor. They say aye, and then all opposed. They say no, and you count up the tally. And I said, we're going to ask for the no's first, because we want to end on yes. We want to get to yes. And it seems trivial and unimportant, and what authority do I have to change Robert's rules? But the feel and the flavor and the intentionality behind that is magical. Because when we're ready to take a vote, if somebody has an objection, they get to say, I don't know, wait a second, this is why I'm voting no first. And what tends to happen is the rest of the group says, I want to hear you. What's going on with you? There have been times where they said, somebody has proposed that we tithe $500, and somebody else says, let's tithe $1,000, and everybody's ready to say yes, and somebody says, I want to save that money and use it for something else. It's like, oh, good idea. We compromise, and the tithe is for $750. And we get to come into balance and alignment. We get to yes. Same thing is going on. Angelo and Stella Pizzello needed to retire. It was time for them to step down. Not just from Emerson Institute, which they'd been not running for a while, but Emerson Institute is actually part of the Emerson New Thought Center. The Emerson New Thought Center is the church of which Emerson Institute is the church school. And they were the board. And they needed to step down, and it was the possibility the organization was going to go away. They needed somebody to step up and be on the board. And I said yes. And now, for completely unknown reasons, I'm the president of the Emerson New Thought Center, with the opportunity to bring that Robert's Rules, we're getting to yes thing to that organization and continue to move that forward. And I've been involved in a bunch of organizations, and many of them do the getting to yes, and I found that they are much more agreeable and likely to get to yes than the ones who follow the original rules. So find your yes, take your shot, be a blessing, be blessed. You deserve it. So it is.